James Charles has officially spoke out about the Evan Johnson situation, and we've got to get into this. So not only is James speaking out about the Evan Johnson situation, he is also speaking out about Zach Sellers and all of the things that he has been saying about James. Not only that, but James has officially apologized to Kayla publicly for even getting into the situation at all. So the video that he does make is about 10 minutes long, so I will be playing the audio for you guys, so let's have a listen.
I do not support Evan Johnson in any way, shape, or form, and let me make that fucking clear. I don't support him, I don't support violence against women, and I sure as hell do not support the disgusting, deplorable, violent, heinous acts that he committed against Kayla Malik behind closed doors. I really fucking hope and pray that when this goes to court this week, Kayla gets justice for what that man put her through. At the same time, the videos that I'm currently seeing all over my For You page are disturbing to me. This is not TikTok tea and drama for everyone else's entertainment. This is real people dealing with some really serious shit. The conversation has completely shifted focus away from Kayla Malik and how she was brave enough to speak out about what she went through to how James Charles involved, the downfall, By Sister 2.0, where's the apology video? It's distracting from the actual issue at hand, which is domestic violence. I have not spoken out about this for a couple of different reasons. The main one being, this is going to court this week. Anything I or anybody else says online can and probably will be used by either Evan's defense attorney or the judge to affect the outcome of its ruling. And I didn't want to put Kayla at any risk for that. I hate that I'm getting online and filming this video right now, but I truthfully have no other choice because I've also spent the last several weeks trying to get in contact with the only person involved in this that actually matters and needs to hear the truth, and that's Kayla Malik. And she has been unwilling to have a conversation with me. And frankly, I don't fucking blame her. After I watched the laughable interview between Be Better and Zach Sellers, I wouldn't want to have a conversation with me either if I was being fed complete bullshit lies and misinformation from the person whose only source of information is the same man that lied to and abused me for 9 months straight. At this point, I have no choice other than to get online, tell my story, and then prove my story to be true in a court of law. I am suing Zach Sellers and anybody else that thinks it's funny or entertaining to get online and spread defamatory and slanderous lies, misinformation, completely bullshit made-up stories for the sake of views, likes, engagement, and galaxies. I'm done. This all started at the beginning of 2025 when I reached out to Kayla about her and Evan being in a Valentine's Day video together. She told me she couldn't. She was crashing out because they had just broken up because he was crazy. I tried to lighten the mood a little bit and make a lighthearted joke asking could I have him now, and then asked what actually happened between them. All she told me was that he did awful things to her and that I would find out more in her 30-part TikTok series. She said she was upset that she helped build his platform based off of lies and abuse, and whenever she was healed, she was going to get online and expose him. I'm going to be so honest, I did not take this conversation very seriously, and obviously, now knowing what we all do, I fucking should have. Reading it back now, it is super clear that she was using humor to cope, and that is perfectly fine and valid. But at the time, I genuinely interpreted these messages as a messy breakup. Maybe he cheated, maybe they got into a drunken argument that ended badly. I could have never imagined what she was actually going through behind the scenes. A lot of Kayla's own friends and family have said they had no idea what she was going through. I wish I could go back in time and been there for her, tried to help her. I wish that I would have asked more questions, but frankly, I didn't feel comfortable doing so. First and foremost, she obviously wasn't ready to talk about it yet based on her last message. And secondly, me and Kayla Malik just weren't close friends. I don't say that to take away from her feelings about this. I don't say that to undermine what she went through. We've only met a couple of times. We collabed in 2023. She guest starred on a podcast with me in 2024, and we hung out at our mutual friend's Halloween party back in October. We've never hung out one-on-one. We've never had a deep conversation. I just really didn't know her that well to be able to interpret these messages and have a better idea of what was actually happening behind closed doors. And I wish more than anything I did because I should have never gotten involved with this, but I did not know what she was going through. I really fucking hate to admit it, but I did have a brief friendship with Evan Johnson that started and ended well before I ever learned about any of the violence that was going on behind the scenes. He reached out to me a couple of days later asking me for advice and told me the same exact story that Zach Sellers believed and then repeated on the Be Better podcast, which was that the relationship was toxic, they both said things and did things that they shouldn't have, and a bunch of other stories that genuinely made me believe Evan Johnson was the victim in the situation. He told me that he moved back to Nashville to go to church and get therapy and try to become a better man, and he seemed vulnerable. He seemed real, and he seemed scared that Kayla was going to get online and start telling lies about him. And he knew exactly what to say to relate it back to a situation that I was in that made me have sympathy for him and be on his side. I feel so fucking dumb for ever believing him, but when I was in a similar situation, all I cared about was anybody treating me like a human being and hearing me out and being there for him, so that's what I tried to provide. We became closer, we would start FaceTiming, he was very suicidal and depressed, and eventually he told me that he wanted to come out to LA to escape and get his mind off of things for a weekend, so I invited him out. All we did was sit on the couch, order food, watch movies, but over the course of the weekend, I slowly started to notice that some of his stories were not exactly lining up. There were inconsistencies, and I started to get worried that I might be on the wrong side of things, and that was confirmed as soon as Kayla noticed that he was at my house and I had to lie to her. I didn't know what to do. I realized then that I was in the middle of a very fucking messy situation that I should have never gotten involved with in the first place, but this man was staying with me, and I didn't know how to get out of it. Later on that night, I told Evan straight up I was uncomfortable, I was upset that I had to lie to her, and that we could not hang out any further. He respected that, and the next morning, he flew home. As soon as Evan left LA, I immediately started making myself unavailable to him because I recognized that he was not the man he was telling me he was. But it wasn't until a month later, when Kayla uploaded her video, He Doesn't Love You, that I actually got to sit and watch how much of a monster he is. My jaw was on the floor for all 2 hours of that video. I could not believe what I was watching and seeing. The horrendous verbal abuse, the violent physical abuse. I was shocked. I was ashamed for not taking me and Kayla's conversation more seriously. I was embarrassed for ever believing that man's lies and manipulation, and I was angry with myself that I ever allowed that man into my home. It was horrifying, and I'm so proud of Kayla for being able to speak up. A couple of days later, I started getting messages on Instagram from Zach Sellers, Evan's best friend, basically warning me that Evan had lied to both of us and telling me that I should cut him off. I didn't see these messages at first until he made a public TikTok accusing me of still supporting Evan behind the scenes, and I messaged him right away because I was confused. His messages genuinely seemed nice. He seemed like he was checking in, warning me to make sure that I was okay and have cut Evan off because he knew that we were both told the same exact lies and stories from Evan. The only reason he even knew I was involved at all was because he was physically with Evan as his best friend, supporting him every single day. It took me 3 days with Evan to realize that something wasn't right here. It took Zach 3 months. So to act this way privately and then to get online as if I'm some monster was wild to me. What started off as a video of James Charles supporting Evan Johnson behind the scenes snowballed into more videos, more content, and then live streams. Every single night, Zach has been live asking for galaxies in exchange for showing more receipts. He's been asking his followers for their cities and locations so he can go on tour with Kayla after this is all over with. He's even been asking for donations on PayPal to fund a merch line. This has nothing to do with getting justice for Kayla and everything about making an opportunity for himself. And the perfect one came along when Be Better flew him out to Canada for their podcast interview. Aside from the timeline that I just told you guys, everything else in that hour-long episode is complete bullshit. To start rumors about somebody online is one thing. Unfortunately, I know that comes with the job, but to publicly accuse them of prostitution is ridiculous. There is no proof, no evidence of any of the ridiculous claims that Zach is making because they did not happen, which is why I have no choice other than to take legal action. But before I do that, I want to quickly take a second and clear the air on some things that have really set me over the edge. First and foremost, Evan Johnson and I did not in any way, shape, or form have a physically sexual relationship. We did not have sex while he was here, and I did not, under any circumstances, pay Evan Johnson for sexual favors. Not in person, and certainly not online through a secret OF account where I'm apparently funding his entire life. That is absurd. Not that it's anybody's business, but I do have an OF account. I'm a grown adult. I barely use it, but Zach, if you would like to see, I will gladly send you a screenshot of my transaction history. I have nothing to hide, and I have not sent Evan Johnson $1 single. Zach claims to know all this information to be true because he pressured Evan into getting drunk and telling him what happened on the trip. I don't know if Evan lied to him to make the trip seem more fun and exciting, or if Zach literally just made this up for funsies. I would like to believe that that isn't the case and that he was manipulated in this situation as well, but he claims to have seen a video on Evan's phone of him having sex with me. Zach, post it. If you have the receipt, if you have the video evidence, you can upload it. You have my full consent and permission. I've had far worse posted to me online that I didn't consent to. Go right ahead. But you can't because there is no video of something that did not happen. Be Better doesn't even stand by these claims because he's now added a disclaimer to their interview that says he was not able to verify a single thing that Zach said. Second, there's a rumor going around that I paid Evan Johnson's bail. This is not true. It is a public record that it was Evan's family who got him out. Kayla's own sister has confirmed this.
JC did not bail out EJ. I know who did, and I cannot say anything.
Third, there's a new narrative started by Be Better that I am trying to silence anybody that talks about this issue. First and foremost, this is literally the biggest thing on TikTok right now. I don't understand how anybody could possibly assume that I'm trying to silence people, but Be Better made a video basically saying that I'm working with YouTube behind the scenes to manipulate their algorithm and get their video hidden. I truthfully wish this was possible. I've been making content for 8 long years now. There are videos on YouTube with 5, 10, 20 million views that if I could have gotten them removed, I would have. But Be Better, I know you said you're having your lawyers reach out to YouTube, so YouTube, I give you my full permission to release any communications between myself or my team to you guys about this matter because, again, they don't exist. Zach has also now made a video claiming that my lawyers have reached out to him to threaten him, to silence him, and to offer him hush money. This is not true. Zach, my lawyers cannot contact you directly, so instead they emailed your modeling agency because that is the only contact you have listed. There was no threat, there was no offer, they were simply asking for the contact of your lawyers. I told you I was going to sue you, and this is what the beginning of that process looks like. It really sucks that at this point I am left with no options other than to pursue a case. As for Kayla, I am so fucking sorry that I ever got involved in this. I should have never believed his lies and manipulation. I should have never even responded back to him in the first place, and I'm sorry for hurting you. I genuinely do wish you the absolute best of luck, and I really hope that you get justice for what that man put you through.
As always, let me know your thoughts on this in the comments, and do you believe James? Let me know in the comments and why.